At the end of the day, I think you gotta just have to bet on yourself. And if you feel like, you have, like a winning idea or like there's a market to address, like we don't have much to gain here. But my mind was more like, well, we don't have much to lose either. Like, why not? Like,
Well,
think like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to make your iteration of it and like
hmm
sell it. And so I think people kind of like that, Like the number one thing I hear a lot when I talk to customers in my years behind the bar is like, like, why do you come here? And they're like, oh, it's because like I'll go to Starbucks or I'll go somewhere else and like it depends who's making my drink. It's different every time. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't think it's that people don't want to work. I think people are just looking for something to buy into. And I think that, you know, the better question to ask is probably like, am I building something worth other people buying into or not? I think that if you have something that, you're building something of value, I think that the right people will see that and then they'll buy into that. They'll buy into your vision. If you don't know the answer to something, you can say that to a customer. It's literally in our training and I'm being depended on here. Like my team is anticipating me to show up for them. And so like you have a culture where people are anticipating one another to show up. It does kind of inherently change like the psychology of how everyone operates. Like suddenly I think you have people that start to rise to the occasion a little bit more. Maybe you kind of just have to go through like that process yourself and like learn for yourself. Like,
sure.
and two, I think it's a different mindset. It's funny. I feel like now that I am a business owner, I think so much more about the future because I have to be forward looking because like the nature of it is like leases and purchase agreements and seasons of like, oh, anticipation. You're always anticipating something.
So welcome, Matt. We're just going to sit down, and have a conversation. Tell everybody, before you talk about your business, what you do, just tell everybody about who you are, where you're from, things like that, and then you can dive into your business.
Sweet. Am I supposed to look into the camera at times, or does it matter? Is it more like candid?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can focus on me if you want.
Okay.
It's
Cool,
like a little
man.
weird, like,
Yeah, yeah.
hey.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. My name's Matt, or Matthew. Born and raised here in the Coachella Valley, and started a business. Have kind of always been entrepreneurial, but started a business, a coffee company, back in 2019. And today it's kind of grown into a multi-location venture with a catering arm and some other fun things that are kind of in the works still. But overall, that's what I do on
All
the day
right,
to
so
day.
I know a little bit more about this business, so I'm going to kind of rewind you a little bit.
Yeah.
So you run and own, principal owner of Everbloom Coffee, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you started out as a coffee cart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take me back to the coffee cart days. Like, why did you start out as a coffee cart? Was it just funds? Was it like, the path of least resistance? Like, I guess, let me know. So just because I'm curious, I'm actually curious, but also like, there's somebody out there that probably wants to also start a coffee shop. And, this could be the path for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was really it. I mean, definitely least resistance, heading the cart route. I mean, overhead's cheaper, it's easier to pop up, set up, tear down. And I saw a concept of a guy who was doing it in the Bay Area. He had this little coffee cart and he was pushing it around. He just set up in random places. He'd do corporate events and like, there's a big corporate culture there, like tech corporate culture, and they have a
Sure.
value for specialty coffee, specifically like craft coffee, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. And so saw him doing that, weddings, birthdays, stuff like that. And this is when Instagram was still, I would say, peaking.
Mm-hmm.
And this like that era, not that it's not now, but this is like way before TikTok existed or anything like that. And found him on Instagram, reached out to this dude. He responded pretty quickly and kind of answered some questions for me, gave me some pointers. And I just thought to myself, this would be a great idea to take back to my hometown. At the time, I was living up in Northern California, closer to San Francisco. I was doing some schooling up there briefly. And one thing kind of led to another. And I just said, you know what, let me just go for it. And so that was when the concept and the idea was born. So really was more of a inspiration from another guy I saw doing it and succeeding. which I think is super important. And I think something that people probably should take note of is, I don't think we have to always reinvent the wheel. I think like entrepreneurship is a lot of times like just kind of iterating, like finding your iteration of something that would work and just executing on it. And so that's kind of the approach I took. It's like, well, let me just kind of take my spin on this and my own kind of style of how I would do this. Had a passion for coffee, just like the craft of it. I was making like pour overs at home a lot. Kind of got into that during college. Have you ever seen a Chemex before? It's like the thing. It's like a flower vase almost. It has like a wood collar on it. And you put a filter on top. Yeah. So
those look relaxing. Just to watch.
I don't know. Just there's like a vibe to it. It's like this ritual, and so I got into that. I got into pour overs and like the science behind it. I went out and I bought like a food scale and like the gooseneck kettle that like helps you control like the flow rate of the water, and got a proper burr grinder, did all this stuff. And that's kind of what was like my segue into coffee and like the interest in like specialty coffee. And so that was pretty much the inception. And that was back in 2016.
Okay.
That was when that first started. And so, and then I hit up a buddy of mine. So I co-own my company with my business partner, who I met in college. I had hit him up and we kind of talked about it, and what was hard about it is like there was a lot of regulations or misregulation around like coffee carts randomly in our county that we're in specifically, because like it's kind of it was like a niche thing. Riverside, yeah.
Of course. Why wouldn't there be regulations here?
Yeah, right. Actually, funny enough, in my research, I think what I found out was that this is the most heavily regulated county in the entire nation, like food and safety wise.
Wow.
And I can't speak to that, having been in it now. I had to go through multiple inspections of like opening food facilities for the last 6 years. It is very true. We called them and we were like, hey, this is what we want to do. What do we need to do to get permitted? And they were like, well, we don't know how to categorize you. You're kind of like this, but you're kind of not. You kind of fall into this category, but you're not in this category. There's like 4 different categories of mobile food facilities. And so they were kind of trying to regulate us as if we were like full on, like we had a full on food truck, like we were like frying stuff and like cooking but we weren't. We just want to make coffee, steam milk, simple stuff.
But as soon as you touch the milk, there's a regulation in California just for milk, isn't there?
So that is the tricky part. So that's why it elevates you to like this higher category, this higher risk category.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that made the regulations to get into the business almost impossible, because they were like, we'll permit you. You just got to put a box around all of your equipment with doors on it, and it has to stay closed. And then you got to put netting everywhere. And I was like, okay, so like, how am I going to get customers to come up and serve them when it looks like I'm quarantined? Like, that's kind of extreme. And like, if it's boxed in with doors on it, how am I supposed to operate the equipment? They're like, well, we don't know. You just figure it out. Like, we're just telling you what you have to do. And we're like, okay. So that's what kind of killed the dream before it officially got started. We tried to get into farmers markets and a couple other places that we could see some like consistent like business being done at. But the permitting process early on was really proving to be a challenge. So we kind of shelved the idea for a while. And then it wasn't until back in 2019 come back around, and me and my buddy are working in restaurants where that's our background is hospitality.
Sure.
Heavy focus on hospitality. And if you grow up here in the Coachella Valley, I mean,
hospitals and hospitality, it's all you got.
That's it. I've never heard someone say it like that, but that's exactly right. So I think everybody at some point or another, whether they make it a career or it's like their first job, works in hospitality here. It's like most of the economy, I feel. And so we have a heavy background in that, and kind of just loved doing that. We were working at different restaurants, serving tables, but back in 2019, we kind of came back around to this idea of like, hey, let's try to start this up again. Let's try to see if we can push through some of the permitting struggles we had and figure out a way to do it. And long story short, or long story shorter, but we end up building out a cart in my parents' garage and just saying, you know what, if we can't figure out a way to do, because the licensing is different for public sales permitting versus like private event catering, we just kind of decided if we can't get the permit route through like the public license permit to sell wherever we want, then we'll just do private events. We'll do catering because the permitting
Sure.
process is easier. It's a lot lower barrier to entry, and that's what we decided to do. And so we built this coffee cart in my parents' garage. We drew up the schematics of it. We had like we we got like bar stools together and like tied string around it to like mimic what the footprint of the cart would be and like figure out the right height and like I don't know, all these dimensions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we drew it up. We took it to a local carpenter and we were like, "Hey, man, can you like build this for us? Like, we'll pay you for the wood and like your time." And he was like, "Sure." It's like a basically like a wooden box
Yeah.
on wheels.
Yeah.
And so yeah, one weekend he whipped this cart together. We went to my buddy has a coffee company in LA, and he had a old espresso machine that was like 10 plus years old, little tiny.
Yeah, you got this thing on discount, right?
Dude,
I saw
yeah.
this online. You got
Yeah.
it for like $1,800 or something.
Yeah,
Is that right?
maybe less than that. And so I think like our all-in investment was, I don't know, for like the cart and like the raw wood material, paying the carpenter, the machine. We bought a grinder, bought a lot of stuff secondhand. It was probably like $5,000 or $6,000 for everything.
Wow, that's like something I wish more young entrepreneurs would know. Like, they think they need like this massive capitation requirement. Like, I don't know any business I started for more than 10 grand.
Yeah.
And I've started quite a few of them. The best ones are like service-based businesses where it's like I'm using my hands, I'm using my brain, like personal trainers. It's like go to a gym and like, use your brain or whatever. But if younger people knew that or like conceptualize like you don't have to be like I'm ready to IPO on like the public markets, but just what'd you say? 4 figures. Four figures got you a cart because you're selling supply, so now you do have overhead, you do have costs, but again, pretty low. Not to disparage anyone who that's like too much for. Like just keep working, but that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the majority of people that would listen to this conversation or just in general have the ability to save that much money. I mean, we didn't have a lot. We had some debt as well, like, school, different stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, I think you gotta just have to bet on yourself. And if you feel like, you have, like a winning idea or like there's a market to address, like, and it's something, and coffee's like one of the biggest markets
It's coffee,
in the world.
guys.
It's
Like
coffee. Like one out of every 2 people every day drinks coffee. So look at Starbucks. Look at those numbers. Like, yeah, I totally agree. I think that resourcefulness, that's like what has been like the constant theme the last decade almost, is just being resourceful to get all of our equipment. So we got the cart started for about 6,000, and then we found a local business to see, this is a way we kind of were able to navigate the overhead situation. We found another local business that was permitted and had all of its licensing in order, and we just popped up there and we paid them a rental fee to sell within their business. So we were
like
housing
sublet?
stuff there. Yeah, basically. We were housing stuff there. We were washing stuff there. So everything was like up to code or whatever. And that's kind of how we got started with that. We were able to say, okay, well, let's take our, our cart setup, which was like that initial investment. And then we kind of segued into finding a business that was willing, that wasn't that it was complementary. So they were already selling, they were like a bakery and like they're selling sandwiches and stuff. And so what we were doing was, and they didn't really have a strong coffee program, like a specialty coffee program outside of like, maybe like drip coffee. So there wasn't like competition there. It was more complementary. I think that's another underrated thing people can do. It's like if you have a business that can complement, another business, and like you can add value in that way.
I would say high traffic areas, absolutely. So like, coming from my former, career path, hospitals are huge.
Hmm.
Coffee carts are huge at hospitals. We are a very small town here, so you probably don't see it. I'm sure if you go to like Eisenhower, Desert Regional, you won't see it. You maybe could set up a cart there and get some action, but not the same way you would a bigger city. Like if you go to like Kaiser or Scripps or any of those hospitals, they have coffee carts all over the hospital, like every single day, and they do pretty well. But so like from my former life, I know that a lot of them are putting in like a cafe center or whatever it's called,
Hmm.
like in their waiting room, because they're getting, on a low end, 5 bodies an hour, on a high end, 50 to 80 bodies an hour, depending on how big the practice is.
Hmm.
And yeah, if you're going to sit in line or you're going to sit waiting to go to your turn, and it's like, my one friend, her name is Kim, actually, true story. She said that their coffee thing brings in another like 20,000 a month. They're a high volume practice in Chicago, but
Right.
they bring in a good like 20 grand a month. Now I don't know if that's net expenses or not, but
Right.
it's very
Right.
positive for them either way. Like
Yeah.
clients are happy, it's a little bit more revenue, and if you do have a longer wait, like you've got a nice hot or cold beverage to settle that. So, but I do want to like, so you started this in 2016, kind of restarted it, so to speak. How do you get catering clients versus once you open the brick and mortar? But how? I'm curious, like just social media, word of mouth.
Yeah, it was a lot of word of mouth in the beginning. I think we kind of took the approach of just offering to do events like at a heavy discount for people in the beginning. I think that's kind of like the approach that there's like I think, who says that? I think Alex Hormozy says it. He's like, hey, if you're going to have a business, like you're just starting out, the best way to get started is just to like offer to do
Yeah, you
your
gotta do it like for
service
90%. Yeah,
and
basically
then
at cost.
yeah, and then you essentially, if you do a killer job, they'll refer you, and then it starts snowballing from there. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what we did. We
Right.
just did a couple events that were really heavily discounted, if not basically free.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just getting started,
Mm-hmm.
just so we can kind of prove ourselves a little bit. And then, although I will say the catering, so we planned it to be like catering was going to be the thing that was going to like be the bread and butter to start, and then we were going to pivot into brick and mortar cafe, like full service cafe.
So the plan was always to go brick and mortar.
The plan was brick and mortar longer term. So like we've been open just over 5 years in our first brick and mortar. The plan was within 5 years get a single brick and mortar open and be more on the side of caterings because of just the way that business works here, like the seasonality.
Yes.
It's there's also a lot of bachelorette parties. There's a lot of these like retreats that go on here,
Mm-hmm.
corporate stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like hotels. Like we talked about it, hospitality is really big here.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at Marriott down the street, the
Mm-hmm.
Esmeralda, when
Mm-hmm.
my first job, and I'd always see business conferences, and I was like, man, this would be such a great market to break into. So the intention was always to do catering as like the main thing, but we got started like end of 2019, beginning of 2020.
Right. So that was my next question.
So,
is like,
yeah.
So you're starting this business, COVID happens, the world shuts down. What's that like?
Yeah, it was scary. So our first day selling at this sandwich place when we were doing the pop-up, like we were doing a couple days a week. I think it was like Friday, Saturday, we were doing this pop-up at this sandwich shop while we were working our restaurant job. So we'd do that in the morning, and then we'd go in the later afternoon or evenings, work our restaurant jobs. First day of doing that was February 28th, 2020. Crazy timing, I know.
Yeah.
Great timing. And so, yeah, we had about all of 2 weeks doing that, and it really wasn't even 2 weeks because we only were doing it a couple days a week to start. So we had like maybe 3-4 days basically brand new doing it. Business was not even a business, I would say, yet. It was more of a hobby. It wasn't really bringing in much revenue.
Sure.
I mean by definition of like even like the IRS, right? Like they would have classified what we were doing as a hobby.
Right.
And so we kind of had this weird crossroads moment where when the whole world shut down, that obviously laid a lot of people off, including us. Restaurants all shut down. We went on lockdowns. But we kind of had this concept with the cart that kind of worked accidentally.
Yeah,
Because
I think you told me like the moms of Instagram kind of took you guys off, right? Like, people were
yeah,
stuck inside all day and they wanted out.
I think just everybody, man. There was like this. Well, everyone was forced on lockdown, and there was only certain things that people could do. There was like essential work, right? And then essential businesses. And they allowed restaurants to be open if it was strictly takeout only.
Right.
Well, we had a kind of a pandemic-proof business built
Yeah.
in accidentally, like I said, because we originally planned it to be for catering, but the cart ended up working out as the perfect pandemic business vehicle, if you will. Because like,
Did you set up at like the COVID swab areas?
dude, that would have been genius. No, we should have done that. Talk about having a
Talk
captive
about having like a
audience.
line of people.
Captive audience. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we had, my business partner had called me when the lockdowns first started, and he was like, dude, I'm kind of freaked out right now. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's hoarding toilet paper. The world seems like it's ending. Like, should we just call it quits? Like,
Right.
let's just, I mean, it would have been really easy at that point. I mean, we didn't have much. I guess the way my mind works, though, like, we didn't have much to lose, but my mind works like, well, oh, sorry, we don't have much to gain here. But my mind was more like, well, we don't have much to lose either. Like, why not? Like,
World's on fire. Let's go.
dude, let's just swing for the fences. Like, we have bigger problems to worry about at this point than if this doesn't work out. If this really is as bad as people might think it is, and it did end up being quite impactful, like, obviously. But I would say that was like the crossroads moment for us that really catapulted us into what later became like massive success. And so,
Okay,
yeah.
so idea ferments, probably 2014, 2016-ish. Attempts made, but then fruition 2019. Coffee cart, catering, full systems go. The world's on fire. It's COVID. When do we go first brick and mortar?
Yeah, so this was also the timeline for this was accelerated. So February 28th, 2020 was our first day just trying. And this again was more of like we're going to try this out and see how this goes type thing with the business where we were doing the pop-up. We opened our brick and mortar March of 2021. So basically 12 months we went from like idea of like, let's trial this, to we're in a store with like a staff, like, and a lease and like a full build out.
Why the switch? I mean, I think I know, but I'm actually curious. Like, was the cart not cutting it anymore, or because I mean, presuming if you're a cart, you probably have to have one man or woman manning the cart, at least one, probably a second. Then you probably have a runner all day and night bringing like supplies, right? Like, how fast are you going through supplies? Or you have like a car next door that you're full of, like a cooler? Like, I mean, at some point that cart's gonna run out.
Totally. We had like those, those like deep sea like ice chests that are like the long white ones that they on boats.
Yeah.
We would just stock one of those with like a bunch of milk and like all of our supplies, and like that would get us through the day barely. And then we had other little smaller coolers that we had all around that we kind of kept stocked up with stuff. But yeah, I think what compelled us to take that leap was we were really slow, and then we got really busy as we headed into the summer of like the pandemic summer, COVID summer. And I was just looking at the numbers and I was like, well, first of all, this is brutal doing this outside. Like the setup and teardown process, like I have so much respect for anybody who has a mobile business like that requires any like appreciable amount of setup and teardown, because not only are you working outside, which like here in the desert outside is
hot.
120 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's funny. We used to take our little point of sale tablet. It would overheat. We'd be in the shade with Mr. fans going full as much as we could to shade everything. And this tablet would overheat. We'd have to take it and like put it in a cooler I would take the iPad and put it inside
Wipe
the
the
ice
ice
chest.
off.
Yeah, and just say, you know what, like we'll just have to take our chances here because we need this thing to cool down. He's like, you know, the little thing on your iPhone, it'll say like overheating.
Yeah.
It would overheat just from being outside in the ambient temperature of just the heat here.
It's hot.
It was rough. So I just have a lot of respect for anybody who does that, like doing the setup to tear down. Everything's just a little more challenging. You know, you can't just walk in and unlock a door and turn the alarm off like you would do with the brick and mortar, where you have fridges and equipment that's preset. You have to fully, you know, with your machinery, your equipment that you're using, fully get that set up. Your tables, your tents, if you need tents, things like that. The prep work is more involved. You don't have a home base necessarily either because it's like you have to do a lot of prep work, and there were a lot of reasons. So I was like, even if we're even maybe making less money doing this, like my mindset was like, I'd rather just bet on us being, the convenience of it. Like I'd rather make a little less money, but like be inside and not suffer. And be able to like at least have some consistency where I can actually schedule someone to come in and take my place. Because that's the other thing. When you're doing something like this, like because of the nature of how it is, you gotta roll with the punches a lot. It's not as easy to go out and hire a person to work up that. You know, there's a lot of little quirks to it, little things that aren't as easy to train.
Well, that plus it's coffee. So like your hours are like crazy. Like people want coffee when they're tired, which is in the morning.
We actually, our hours were really bad when we first opened because we kind of just, I don't know, we did things a little unconventionally. Our hours were 10 to 4 when we first started. So we didn't even open that because we spent so much time setting up in the mornings and just getting on site and doing what we had to do. I guess we kind of didn't go the route of being like, let's get up at 4 a.m. so we could be open by 6 or 7 a.m. for like normal hours.
Well, I mean, I think like as a, you know, because I am a business owner and like, you know, I do understand like there's, you know, just because the hours you're open does not mean the only hours you're working. Like there is setup, there is tear down and things like that. I think like first value or face value, I just think like, oh, they're busy. They're unavailable other times because staffing or they're, you know, it's a startup. And I think like, especially young people respect and vibe off like startup values. Whereas like some people that are a little bit older, and that's not like against like an age thing. They want like a seasoned business, but like young people are like, I will support this startup. Even though like young people love Starbucks, like you'd probably get more young people. I don't know your guys' like metrics, like who comes through your doors, but you probably get more young people that want to support local, support a startup. I don't know if you're a startup anymore. Versus going to like the seasoned business that's like, you know, going to a bunch of corporate shareholders or something.
Totally.
So what was it like going from, when you started working, you said you and your business partner, were you the only workers or did you, like, what was the employment like?
Yeah, we had his brother that was working it with us. It kind of started out, I think, as like a summer job because his brother had moved back from up in Washington and we needed some extra hands.
Sure.
The pandemic was going on, so work wasn't exactly plentiful, and he, you know, which we're super grateful to him for, he just kind of jumped in with us and kind of helped us in those really early phases. And so it was just the three of us. It was the three of us only, exclusively. We did have another young man come in, and he would kind of help us out on weekends too, here and there. We later expanded our hours a little bit once we kind of got our footing and figured out what we were doing. Well, half figured out what we were doing. And that was the way it was up until we opened our brick and mortar. We didn't hire anybody because I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of quirks, like I said, to running the car. A lot of things that it's kind of like I really wouldn't want to ask another person to like go through some of this, like, because nothing was systemized. Obviously, nothing was planned for. It was very dysfunctional in a lot of ways, not optimal. But yeah, we had that startup energy, and we were kind of just, you know, gritting our teeth a little bit and just
It
you
takes
know?
both. Like I'll kind of say on two things of that. Number one, um, as a business owner, this is just my personal belief. Like, but as a business owner, you need is my preference that you should be proficient at most of the jobs in your business. And the only way to do that is to do all of the jobs. Now, that may sound backwards in so many ways. Like, yes, as a business becomes seasoned, yes, you want to hire people that are better than you. Like, I know Hormozy, you mentioned Alex. So, Hormozy is all about, like, I want to hire people better than me, smarter than me. Sure, you are in a different world than, like, he's now acquiring businesses. When you are
Yeah.
acquiring businesses, you want people to be smarter than you because you're just the guy behind the money and he's doing his own skill set. But like on a startup level, like you should be able to do every job. Maybe not better than everyone, but you should be able to kind of step into that role at any point in time. And then you systematize it. You
Hmm.
figure out the systems by learning the quirks, learning that, hey, the front left wheel is squeaky. We got to, fix it or, whatever. But like you figure that out with the business. Then you build, then you grow, then you adapt, then you change, then you grow, then you adapt, then you change, and then you just, grow from there. Um, so no, I think like the way you did it is like great. And, it sounds like you guys were the ones going out all the time, like getting the supplies and,
Oh yeah. Prep.
chasing all the potential leads, catching up on accounts payable. So like anybody who likes Everbloom Coffee, like it is because of this guy right here, and your business partners and, all the staff that's with you now, of course. But like when it starts, and that's not to discredit anyone who works for you or has helped you along the way, but like there's a lot of grit, a lot of grind in the beginning, and there's probably more than one day or week or month that you're like, is this worth it? It definitely, like, I don't want to speak for you, but like I've been in, businesses before where I was like, wow, like should we have just, cashed that W-2 check?
Totally.
I'm sure
Yeah.
there's days,
Oh
weeks,
yeah.
months that look like that. But so so I mean, since we are like a finance firm here, I guess I'll ask you like a business related question. So like, how many employees do you have? Are they employees or 1099s,
Yeah, so
W-2s?
with the line of work we do, you they have to be W-2. We can't do 1099s. So yeah, I think we're up to 15 right now. And probably will add a couple more by year's end.
Are you hiring?
Mostly.
You can tell people right now if you're
Yeah.
hiring.
No, seriously. Yeah. Yeah. No, feel free to reach out to us. We are always taking resumes, is what I say.
All
Even if
right.
we're not actively hiring, because we definitely like to, you know, keep our options
Yeah, you
available.
want a
And
talent pool.
you
Yeah.
know,
I'll leave a little description in there and we'll put a little banner that says like, your email. You just send us that. We'll put
yeah.
that in there. Um, and so are these full time, all part times?
So it's like a mix, like 50-50. I'd say about half are full time, and then the other half are more part time basis. So it's a good mix. We're like still just figuring out like the right cadence because we kind of had a cadence established when we had one location. We just recently opened up a second location in the fourth quarter of last year, and well, we're already in June now of 2026. But time flies, man, and we're still kind of figuring out the two location rhythm. I feel like too with like systems and business as well. I feel like what works, what often might work for a certain scale, once you scale to a certain point, it just doesn't work anymore, and then you have to readjust the system you're using, and that's kind of what we ran into. So we had a pretty good system, I would say, for one location,
Mm-hmm.
that we had to build, and it was doing great. But we found that once we opened the second location, that same system that we were operating under with one location was no longer working for two. And so it's been a lot of like tinkering and kind of fine tuning since we've opened that second one to get things more stabilized. But overall, it's been great, honestly.
What would you say is the bottleneck? So the reason I ask is that rhymes so true with like, on my side, like in the healthcare space, when we opened up our first location, just inherently, I guess the math in you says like if we're doing X dollars in revenue and our expenses are Y per month, this is our, our net. We have a second location, then theoretically at the end, apples to apples, we should just double both. Turns out the math doesn't work that
Yeah.
way. Almost never. And, historically, I can say in the healthcare space, it's very common that going from one location to two is challenging. Going to a third is like statistically where a lot of businesses actually fail. But then like if you go past 3 locations, then usually at that point you decide, are you looking to sell a small family business, or are you looking like for rapid expansion? Because when you look to selling something, it's like, what's my multiple, right? A 1x, a 3x, or whatever. And usually from a 1 location, 2 locations, you have a good multiple. The 3 one gets kind of hairy. And then after that, it's like they really want to see 5 or 8 locations or more before the multiples really justify the risk. But so what would you say, like, what have you learned? I mean, clearly lots of learning lessons along the way, but what are things you've learned specifically from opening your second location after having the first? So somebody else who's, looking to go to one or maybe going to a second one, help them out.
Yeah. I would say the number one thing, if I could summarize all my thoughts on this, there's a lot, but I would say that the biggest thing, every time a challenge, like a unique challenge comes up and it requires this, what might feel like an extraordinary amount of effort to solve, or, you start running into different issues, I just tell myself this is like my moat, basically. Like, if I'm willing to do this thing that would almost take me out, this challenge, this hurdle, then this is just a deeper moat for like anyone else who would want to come and like maybe do the same thing I'm doing. It isn't easy, right? And so I think being resourceful is like the name of the game. Like finding creative ways to get to where you're trying to go. So like, for example, we didn't have a lot of capital. We were not well capitalized. We didn't have outside investors. We didn't even take on debt, to be honest with you, to
That's
open.
good.
Yeah. Which sometimes it is the right move for some people. If like you feel comfortable doing that. We did not, because we didn't really come from a background with families.
Taking on debt, you mean? You did not feel comfortable taking on debt?
In the first location, we didn't. We did for the second one, once we had a proven concept and cash flow. But with the first one, we didn't. And even in the second one, relative to the size of the business, I would say we took on very little debt. I think we financed half of it ourselves with just our own reserves, and then we took on debt for the rest. And then, but I would just say being resourceful. Like an example of that is we didn't buy all brand new equipment. We went to restaurant supply stores, or we went to liquidation places. Like we found a warehouse with a bunch of equipment that was perfectly good equipment that was being sold for pennies on the dollar. So we literally rented like a semi truck, and we drove out to a sketchy part of LA, and we loaded up a semi truck. We just put like enough equipment for 2 to 3 locations worth, refrigerators, ice machines, all this stuff that we needed. And that's kind of how we did it. Like we were able to save tens of thousands of dollars that way, that I think had we not done it that way, we could have gone out and gotten loans or just went and bought it brand new. But I think that psychological like weight might have borne on us, like, oh, we're in all this debt, we have to make things work. So I think it helped in a couple different ways. Like it helped with us just having the freedom of mind of not feeling like we have to make this profitable from day one, because like the truth is that like, what, you probably know this better than I would, but I don't know what statistically the length of time it is that it takes a business to be profitable, but I know it does take some time usually. And so it freed that mental weight off of us to not have to be super profitable right away. As long as we were bringing in enough to just take care of ourselves, pay the bills, pay our staff, we were good. And yeah, I would say that just being resourceful. Every time something would happen, I'd be like, okay, if you dig in and you do this thing right now, like that you almost don't even want to do, and you borderline, like we were saying earlier, like you just want to say, I just want to say screw it all and walk away, the next guy's probably going to be feeling the same way. And like, if I do this thing that someone else isn't willing to do, this is just going to put me further ahead, basically, in this. So
yeah, that's very Alex Ramosi of you.
There's
there's nothing to say you can't So I think one of the things I'm really good at doing is like trimming the fat in businesses. That's like one thing that when I've consulted with a lot of healthcare businesses, especially, is there's so much waste. There's so much fat in the business. There's, to have the shiny bells and whistles. In your guys' case, you got equipment that was old or used. As long as it's functioning, like, who cares if your refrigerator is brand new if it still functions? You can always upgrade later, right? Like, you want to break even first. So you asked earlier, I think the most common numbers are like the first 7 years is you want to break even, right? You want to just break even, not turn in profit, just not go under. You want to break even, and then the next 3 years is where you want to start turning a profit and growing. But yeah, as long as it's not going, in your guys' case, change the taste or the quality of the coffee, then get it so that you can generate revenue off of that, and save money on things that are not going to move the needle, and make sure that the customer's experience is nicer. Make sure that you have the little dining area where people are sitting. Do people tend to come? I mean, I've been to your restaurant, so I do actually know.
Yeah.
But like, do people come to Everbloom? Well, I've been to one location.
Maybe the original one, the small one. It'd probably be the smaller one if it's not the one. Is it the one in the new like downtown area of Indio they're developing?
No.
Okay, then be the smaller
I think
one.
it's yeah.
Yeah. So that one we don't really have any seating actually inside. Funny enough, we just have patio seating. So that was
But it's always full.
Yeah, more of like a grab and go situation. The new one though has a massive indoor seating area. It's like huge, and so that's like a little bit of a different vibe there. But
I'll have to check it out because
Yeah.
my sister-in-law is obsessed with your guys' place.
yeah,
She's from Ohio, guys. Like, when she flies in, and they're coming in a couple months, like, I kid you not, we come to Everbloom at least daily when she's in town, and she loves your guys' stuff. And she actually told me, so confirm, but you guys were at Coachella?
yeah.
So-
Yeah.
What's that like?
Crazy, as you'd expect. I mean, I think
I've actually never been to Coachella.
I went, so growing up here, I went 1 year back in 2013 when the Chili Peppers were headlining, and that was a cool experience. But yeah, festival scene's not really my vibe. I'm not really a festival guy. I'm more of like I'll watch it from the couch type of vibe, like on the comfort of my living room. But yeah, it was crazy. As you could expect, I think something like north of 200,000 people come to the festival over those weekends. And so you're just preparing to serve tens of thousands of people. And
Do you do it every year, or is it like
we have done it, I believe this last year was our fourth year doing it. This is our fourth year doing it. So we've pretty much done it every year since the post-COVID era.
How do you do it? So, like, for not that I want somebody else to jump in and take your guys'
Here's all of our
potential
trade
line.
secrets. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it like an auction? You have to like vend to become a vendor.
It's kind of like Golden Voice, the company that oversees Coachella. They will basically reach out to you, and they're partnered companies, and they'll reach out to you and basically ask you. They'll invite you.
So like they found you.
Yeah, so we had some people from Golden Voice that were frequenting our first and original location. They were coming a lot, and they really liked the coffee, liked the vibe, and they were like, "Man, you guys should be inside the festival. You're a local business. This would be great." Like, I think they always do try to include local business when they can.
Sure.
Obviously, like, it just makes more sense logistically for them and the business. What they find though is that not every local business can service crowds that big, because, like, to be honest, it's
got to be a lot.
It's borderline a different business model to do festival service versus if you're just used to doing regular cafe service or like a small catering event. It's nowhere near the same thing. Like, festivals, I would say, are like their own business model. Prep is totally different. Ordering is totally different. Transport is different.
I was going to say, I imagine it is very much like take, order, deliver, next. And kind of like not a coffee cart, but more of like a food truck, like at a food truck rally style, where it's like, how fast can I dish this out? Not necessarily to make,
for sure.
Not necessarily to make more money, but people are there. They want your service or your offering. Is it logistically? What's it like from a I actually don't know these answers, so I'm curious. And if anything is like uncomfortable, like by the
You're
way, we
totally
can cut
fine.
it out,
You're totally fine,
or
dude.
we'll just turn it off.
You're totally fine.
But do the prices change? Like I would assume it's got to be more expensive there.
I don't know if I can say the exact percentages. Like we have signed a contract with Golden Voice or Coachella, but yeah, for sure they will get a percentage of our revenue, just a flat fee, and so that is why people tend to be like, oh, the prices are so inflated. Well, you have to consider that Golden Voice charges their fee off the top, and it's a hefty fee.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, obviously,
I'm
as you
sure
can
it's a
imagine.
pay to play.
Then you have to use certain purveyors or vendors for all of your paper goods and plastic. So like those prices are a little bit, you don't have control over your margins as much with certain things. You have to pay for all the electricity you get. You're paying per plug that you're using. You're paying for your
Per
booth.
plug?
You're paying for your booth setup. You're paying for your permit fees, which are, you know, thousands of dollars. You're paying for everything. You're paying for, we have to pay for the ice that goes in the cup. And it's not the price of ice you can go and buy from like the
Gas
ice
station
place down the road. It's, or like an ice machine that you just set up commercially. Like, it's not like my ice machine I can bring in. I have to buy their bags of ice, which come at a premium also. So all these things add up. You know, obviously labor is another one. You have to pay people and pay them well to be there because it's a chaotic environment and it's hectic to work there. So
Do you do it?
do I work there?
Yeah.
I work
Like during the festival, or you're like, no.
so I
I'll
work
pay you triple. if
I
you do
work
it.
at the physical locations because our locations are so busy during the festival itself. I mean, we have lines out the door pretty much all day, starting from the day
Interesting.
prior to even the day after. So for us, Coachella is not really like a 3-day thing. It's more of a 5-day thing.
Yeah,
It
because people are
starts
coming
Thursday,
in and stuff. Sure.
and then it goes through the Monday after.
Sure.
So
yeah.
really, the only break we
Gotta get
get
home.
is like Tuesday, Wednesday, and that continues for 3 weekends because it's
Stagecoach
Stagecoach weekend 1, or sorry, Coachella weekend 1, weekend 2, and then Stagecoach, all the way.
Wow, that's
So-
so even at so you guys are at the festival, and the brick and mortars still do more volume even though the festival's going on.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, I was working like open close, like 12 hours a day, like pre-open, post-close, like all those days. Like I'd be on the bar. Like I think I estimated that I physically, like myself, handed off somewhere between 1,000 to 1,500 drinks
I
personally.
would believe that. So
Yeah.
the last time my sister-in-law is mentioning, shout out Candace. She loves your place. We go there all the time, and I think the last time they were in town was Coachella 2
Mm,
last year.
that makes
maybe,
sense.
something like that. You weren't there, but we went to the restaurant, and like in the time that we're waiting in line, and the line was long, but it did go quick. Everyone was super friendly, by the way. But I remember looking because just like dad, and like because I have a daughter now too. But like we just go through like whole milk a lot now because like my daughter over 1, they drink whole milk, and I remember thinking in line before we ordered, like you guys went through like, and I don't think I'm exaggerating here, like 6 gallons of whole milk. They were just like, the frothers are going,
Yeah.
like the line was long or something. Like is that like, do you guys have to go through a lot of like these supplies?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Milk. I mean, we're ordering because we have dairy alternative. We have oat milk, and then we have whole milk, and we're ordering probably for that month somewhere in the neighborhood of like, I don't know. It's got to be like at least 1,000 gallons or something crazy like
Oh, sure.
that. Easily, like maybe thousands. Coffee wise too. I mean, we're going through like hundreds of pounds of coffee beans, just raw coffee beans.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's the prep work that is involved with it too is immense because we make all of our own stuff. So like we make our own syrups, we make our own chai in house. We don't buy any of the stuff from places, which would be a lot easier, but that's kind of one of our like things
I think
that
that's
we
what
do.
sets you apart.
Yeah, it's
And
something
your
that
guys' matcha is
distinguishes us.
huge.
For sure, the matcha has become a bigger thing now, especially with like the global matcha craze that's been
Yeah.
going on. So yeah, all those things, yeah, they take a lot of prep work, and we're prepping like 50 gallons of just butterscotch syrup just in these giant 5-gallon buckets. It's like buckets of it. And
Yeah.
just, we're having trouble finding places to put. I have butterscotch coming out of my ears, dude. It's like crazy. Like, but yeah, it's all the work we do to, serve the high volume of people that come in for that month. Yeah, April's definitely our biggest month. March is actually really busy too because we have the tennis tournament, we have spring break, and this
Oh,
is
this
a
area
big
is just
destination
huge in
for
March. This is like
that.
the
Yeah, the BNP.
yeah.
So
What oh, I've got so many questions. That is just my curiosity.
Yeah.
How so one, probably who decides what goes on the menu, but how do you guys decide that? Like for like in your business exploration, do you and your wife, do you guys go to like other places and you're like, let's try some other beans, let's go to other coffee shops, let's go back up to the bay, or I don't know, somewhere else, and like let's go see what they're doing? Like, I don't know, what's that look like on your guys' side?
yeah, we've gone to our fair share of places in our day for sure. I mean, like I think I go less now than I used to because like I'm in the business now, so like I feel like my time is more limited on like discovery, and I find that I think what kind of got us successful was like I kind of said earlier, I think like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to make your iteration of it and
Mm-hmm.
like sell it. And so like it's the same thing like I think of when I look at like In-N-Out or look at like Chick-fil-A or Raising Cane's, like what are they doing, right? Like they're not doing anything that's wildly different. They are just doing their thing and doing it really well, and it's like you know exactly what you're going to get when you go there. And that's kind of the approach we took. Like we don't have like a wild eccentric menu. Like maybe some people would think like, oh, that's like unique in a way. And I do think some of our offerings are pretty unique, but my whole philosophy on that is just like do the basics and do them with the utmost excellence so that because people are creatures of habit. We're creatures of habit. We like consistency to a degree. And I think that I would rather be that place that is going to give you that consistent, dependable experience every time you go than being that place that's super caught up in like the newest fad or making some crazy Instagrammable, like crazy looking drink that's like very photographic and like, like I said, Instagram friendly. I like to just more so compete on like and like carve out our niche and just that being that like, hey, if I go and I get like I have a people, they come every day and they've come for years and they get a vanilla latte. It's vanilla. Like you could say like, oh, what's the big deal with vanilla? But like they really like our vanilla. We make it in house, and the way we prepare it, the ratio we use, it works. And I think people kind of like that, like the number one thing I hear a lot when I talk to customers in my years behind the bar is like, like, why do you come here? And they're like, oh, it's because like I'll go to Starbucks or I'll go somewhere else and like it depends who's making my drink. It's different every time. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I never know what I'm gonna get. Like it's fairly pricey. Like it's not like it's cheap per se, but like I like the consistency you guys have is like what people tell us. And so yeah, that's kind of like our approach. Our core menu only has like 4 or 5 syrups on it, like flavors, and that's really it. And we do like seasonal drinks too to like give that variety, but we don't really try to go like too outside the box because like we just kind of found what works for us, and like we're kind of trying to be like I guess like the In-N-Out of coffee, if you will.
Honestly, I love that. And
Yeah.
like, I'm there's a study called like, the 100 flavors of genes, like a psychologist says that basically when you have too many options, like it results in people not being satisfied. And if you have fewer options, your satisfaction ratings like skyrocket. And so a lot of businesses don't know this because they don't read the psychology on it. But like these are published journals, you can read them. They're pretty old now, but I'm the same. I think every time I go to your place, I don't even know. I think I get like the vanilla latte with
Yeah.
like a little bit of like, chocolate or so syrup in it or whatever, and it's delicious. And I'm a simpleton guy. Like I just once I get something I like, I just keep going. And you're right. It's always consistent. I've said to my wife like consistency will beat ingenuity every time in business. Like when I think of consistency, I actually always think of Ruth's Chris, like the
Mm.
steakhouse. You ever been?
I haven't been, but yeah, I know Ruth's
So
Chris.
a
Yeah.
lot of people really like Ruth's Chris. Some people do, some people don't. Like it, if you like it, you love it, and if you don't, then you don't. But they really hot, butter, all that jazz. But the experience from when you walk in the door, I've been to quite a few Ruth's Chris throughout the nation, and when you walk in through the door, your experience is parallel every time. The way you're greeted at the door, the way you're sat down, the way like the server comes, discusses the menu, takes the menu, describes that the plates are steaming hot, they're like served at 550 degrees. Like it's so organized and so consistent. The food is consistent. Like your palate knows exactly what you're about to eat. And that consistency is like not only what keeps them in business, but they're thriving. And there's just so much to support just being consistent. So I could definitely agree to that. So when talking about employees, so I've had as we get into 2026, it gets a little bit harder to find the right person to hire. You hear things like it's hard to find the right person or nobody wants to work. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Hmm.
But speaking of hiring, you have quite a few employees. What's it like? What's your culture like? What are you guys looking for? Who's good for Everbloom?
Yeah. Well, first I don't want to move on from what you said right there because like I totally agree. I don't think it's that people don't want to work. I think people are just looking for something to buy into. And I think that, if the better question to ask is probably like, am I building something worth other people buying into or not? Because I think that if you have something that, you're building something of value, I think that the right people will see that and then they'll buy into that. They'll buy into your vision. And I think they'll want to come on board with you. And I think that's what we found. Like
The
we've,
mission, right?
the
So,
mission, right.
not to cut you off, but
No.
who was it? The comedian guy, Jerry Seinfeld,
Hmm.
right? Jerry Seinfeld would say how like everything's so hyper focused about money. Like I know I'm a money guy, but things are so hyper focused about money lately. It's like how much am I going to make? And the cool factor of where you work is gone. And he had this quote about, I think it was the 70s or the 80s. Like nobody said like how much are you making? It was like what projects do you get to work on? Like I'm
Mm.
working at the NASA space station, or it's like that's so cool. Like your job is cool, and now it's so focused on how much can I make? And don't get me wrong, like people need to go home and feed their families. Like the world's expensive, inflation's crazy. Like I don't care what the government says, like it is,
Yeah.
but culture, like when people have a mission and then your team is aligned with that mission, it does make the business grow. And I definitely see like if you don't have a good mission, then the business won't grow. So what's the solution?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think we've always kind of been more of a service first business. It's had its challenges to maintain the consistency of that with scaling quickly, but I would say that's something we've always set the bar in is taking time to just have like an experience because at the end of the day, you know, something I tell our team when we're bringing on a new team member and something I try to reiterate to our staff when we're sitting down. We do check-ins quarterly and we have like kind of our own little internal system of how we kind of evaluate like performance around this. But something I say to the team all the time is people will forget what you say, but they will not forget how you made them feel.
Right.
And I think that it's just like it holds true in almost any situation. I mean, yeah, they might not remember what you said the menu was like or the recommendation you made per se, but they'll remember the feeling they had when you greeted them. Did you smile? Were you warm? Was your presence inviting? Was it engaging, or was it like standoffish or kind of off-putting? And so that with that philosophy is kind of how we run everything with staff internally. We're really big on service. We definitely pay attention to customer feedback and we try to set the bar in service. Funny enough, even though we've talked mostly about quality and other things, service I think actually is more of our big niche that we try to really lead in and set the bar in, because I feel like the bar is so low in hospitality right now. Like, it's especially if you go into a coffee shop, dude. I mean, you walk in and like it's rare you even get greeted anymore. They look like maybe they hate their life, they hate their job, or they hate something, they hate you. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's
but
just very transactional.
it's very transactional. I mean, dude, we were in this place. And I guess LA does have a bad stigma for this, but we were in LA a couple weeks ago. Just to my point here, that illustrates it. And there's no one in this place. It's early in the morning on a Sunday. There's like 2 people in the entire place. There's no one behind us, and I'm just asking a couple basic questions about like the drinks on the menu, like you would. And I get the most sarcastic answer ever from the barista. I was like, "Hey, what sizes do you offer?" And she's like, "Oh, it's a 12 ounce for this size of like this drink." I was like, "Oh, great." I was like, "How much liquid goes in it though? Because it is a 12 ounce cup, but like obviously there's ice too." And like I'm like, right, I'm asking the question. She's like, "Well, it's 12 ounces." I was like, "Well, first of all," like in my mind, I didn't say anything to her. I just said, I was very nice. I was like, "Well, there's ice in the cup too, though. Like, so like how much liquid?" Because like these things, as a coffee drinker and like in these types of environments, like that might sound snobbish, but like a couple ounces is the difference between like a different drink. It's the difference between a cappuccino and a flat white, or a cortado and a latte. Like,
Actually, you say that, and it makes me think of, isn't there like a viral, like Starbucks videos where it's like, regardless of which cup you get, like it's the same fluids because they just put more ice in? Is that
yeah,
right?
I have seen that actually.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yes, I have seen
So
that.
I'm like, that's what I thought you were
Right. No, so but at a specialty shop there is a difference, like, and it changes the flavor of the drink, like how milky it is, how strong it is or not,
Mhm.
whatever. But it's just funny because like, I thought, man, like that was such a layup. It was such an easy way to like go and just be like, answer my question, right? And I would have walked away from that experience being like, "Oh, that was really nice of her to do that." And
Do you think she just didn't know? And it was like, we're also in a culture where right now some people are like too embarrassed. It's like an ego thing to say like, I don't know. Like, I was not trained on that answer, so I don't know. And they could have just been like, I don't know, and you would have been like, okay. Do you think that's what it was? I don't know. I'm not
it
trained.
could have been that, and yeah, all fairness to her, it could have been. I think definitely the way that she gave the answer was definitely more of like a why are you even asking me this? Like more than like a, because my thing is like, hey, if you don't know, and I tell my team this, I literally tell them, hey, if you don't know the answer to something, you can say that to a customer. It's literally in our training, and because yeah, I understand.
Pretty
Like,
empowering to be like, I don't know. Like, let me get back to you on that.
yeah, and I feel like
Tell
it
you
also,
what, come next week, we'll pour the same drink and I'll have the answer for you.
yeah. Well, I feel like it also builds rapport with customers too, because it's like, oh, this person was willing to be honest with me. That in a weird way, like almost it might seem counterintuitive, kind of builds trust.
No, being authentic and altruistic is always going to win.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Yeah, definitely. So, so you guys have a training where you have people go through and you teach them things. What's that look like?
yeah, I mean, a lot of it is obviously your standard, your SOPs and stuff, and like the functions of how to do the job. But I think the thing that we try to instill more than anything is, like we talked about, that like cultural element. And I know culture is like a word. It's almost like cringe to say sometimes, because I think culture is like this word that's like abused a lot in companies, where like they're like, yeah, this is our culture, and then it's just like, these are our core values, and like they're just on the wall somewhere and they have like dust on them.
Are you living them?
Yeah, you don't. And so yeah, that's been a thing we've definitely, though we haven't done it perfectly over the years, we've tried to find ways to incorporate our core values into the day to day, and like not just like, oh, this is in a handbook somewhere and you're gonna totally forget this, but like how can we incorporate these core values and make them part of like the lens that you see things through, versus just being this like, these dead words. And so we're big on that. We have ways that we go about that. One of the things we do to that point is we have 3 core values, because we don't want to have like a list of 20 core values. I mean, all respect to if you have like 7 core values or whatever out there, and you're a company that likes to have more core values because you feel like that better describes your business, that's great. For us, I found that probably past 3, and like people just aren't going to remember
Yeah,
due to the nature of work we do.
statistics show 3 is the answer.
Okay, well I didn't even know that, but that just made sense intuitively, so I'm glad that that's what that is. But one of the things we do is we have them do like peer reviewing on a weekly basis. We call it a shout out, and all that is like a little Google form, and once a week they pick one of our core values, then they give another person a shout out, and they say like, this is what I saw them do, this is a core value I thought that they were like exemplifying this week, and I just want to shout this person out. And it sounds like simple, and there's other things too, but like that's like one example of like,
It's a way to give recognition. Like, because
yeah,
you're not going to be there all the time, and to know your team notices the small things, like that adds up.
and I think also too, it's like that accountability, like multiple ways, right? It's like, oh, my team, like not like I'm being watched like Big Brother, but like I'm being depended on here. Like my team is anticipating me to show up for them. And so like like I think when you kind of have that culture, I'll say the word, you have a culture where people are anticipating one another to show up, it does kind of inherently change like the psychology of how everyone operates. Like suddenly I think you have people that start to rise to the occasion a little bit more. Maybe like things are pulled out of them that maybe wouldn't have been otherwise, because there's like that healthy almost like pressure in a way. And so yeah, I think that's just like our philosophy though, is we definitely like to push service. We like to push engaging with customers, making them feel something, because I think they're more likely to come back if they feel something, and you build that little rapport with them, you build relationships with them. So I think all those things work together, and that's kind of what's set us apart over the last, 5 short years we've been
Yeah, yeah.
open. So
So switching gears, I'll jump in the finance side for a sec. And again, say what you wish, and we can either blurt out anything you don't, or we cut off the
I
cameras,
love
or
it.
whatever.
I love it.
You're a business owner, and I've seen this far too much. And business owners, again, to steal Alex, it's why invest when I can invest in the S&P and me? And like I agree, like you should invest in making yourself having more skill sets, etc. But there is a point where you should take your dollars and let them work for you in other avenues. Like you can either buy labor, meaning you're employing more people, or you can, buy equities, buy investment properties, etc. What does Matt and what does Matt and Kim do? Like, do you do any investing on your own? Outside of the business, do you enjoy it, or are you just like, hey, like I don't want to deal with this, I'm just going to stick to coffee?
No, man. Big fan of investing. Big fan of letting your money work for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely the goal. I think that it's funny. I never started this business to get rich. I never expected it to do that for me, because I just knew the nature of it being in the hospitality industry. The margins are thinner in restaurants. It's unpredictable. It can be seasonal, because of where we live. Though that's changing now. It's different than it
It is
used to be.
changing.
It's different than it used to be. But for all those reasons, I always knew there had to be another end game there. There couldn't be just, oh, I'm going to just expect this business to be the sole source of income. Because also, too, like, God forbid, I tend to be more like plan for the worst, but hope for the best type of guy.
Yeah, you don't want to work on this business for a long time and then, I don't know, an earthquake takes out the business. Like you gotta, protect your family.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy investing? It sounds like you do.
Dude, I do. Yeah. I think this year has been like the year that I like have kind of more aggressively started investing. We've probably invested like 75% of our income this year.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of just, I would say like, it's not like we're not just buying like index funds right now.
So that was gonna be my question. Are you
Yeah.
guys mutual funds, ETFs, index funds, or are you
More like
selecting names?
it's more like selecting names, but like still not going like we're definitely not buying like meme stocks or like totally like small cap companies right now with any meaningful amount of like
Well, the only thing working
portfolio.
right now is AI.
Well, yeah, so AI hardware has kind of been the thesis this year for us. That's kind of all anything having to do with it. So like supply chain to like the hyperscalers and
Mhm.
like obviously playing around like
What's your
earnings.
favorite name?
I mean, made the most money with Nvidia.
Yeah.
But right now, Meta, Oracle, Microsoft, Nvidia. I just bought Lumentum randomly. So yeah, just that one's definitely a little bit of like a more wild card bet. Like hopefully longer term that plays out over the next like 12 to 24 months. But yeah, I think like the whole AI like hardware like has been where obviously a lot of the growth has been in the market this
Yeah.
year. And
Well, I mean, like
so
I look at this stuff literally all day.
me too. It's low key. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like we just got out of our busy season at my main business at Everbloom. So this has been like every other waking moment I've had has been like this has been super fun.
Do you, so you guys are sort of doing some investing. Fantastic. I cannot commend every business owner enough. Like, don't not invest for your family. Like, you have a business, but take money out of the business, put it into your pockets, fill your coffers. But just because I don't think enough people know this and they don't do it, is your business investing or are you taking money out? So, like, a lot of people don't realize, like, your corporation can have a corporate investment account, and there are tax benefits to having a corporate investment account, and people don't know that.
So long story short, yes and no. So like, yeah, basically yes. But I have like another business entity set up that holds our investments for us, basically, that I operate with. But because just due to the nature of how things are kind of worked out at Everbloom, it tends to be more like split. But then what retains like a large majority of, I don't know how much of this like I could explain like in simple terms, but like you would understand all of it. But a large majority of what's received from Everbloom never really touches my personal account, our personal account. It just goes right to this other entity. And that's kind of what handles like our investments, like our longer term type of investments. So, yeah, that's kind of the deal for us right now. We're still learning a lot, but
do you guys do like a solo K, 401k? Well, not a solo. You couldn't do a solo K. Do you do a 401k or anything like that?
Not yet. I need to get that set up. This was literally the first year. Like, I'm not kidding you. This last 6 months has been like the first 6 months that we've really been like actively investing in the market at all.
Sure.
Because we really actually were not very, we were not as profitable. And we also had this big reinvestment phase of opening the new shop. That was very capital intensive and like ate up a lot of our free money. And so, but now that that's open, cash flowing, that this has been like the year that we've started to be able to like kind of diversify out. And like you said, you know, I would love it if one day, you know, I don't have to depend on Everbloom for paychecks. Like I could just show up and like, I mean, I'll get my, you know, my quarterly or like my yearly equity distributions or whatever. But like if the business can be largely untouched by me and it can be really just growing itself and I'm not having to really depend on it, that's kind of the best case scenario in my opinion.
I mean, you guys get it so your personal accounts are sitting at, you know, 4 or 5 million and you're like, hey, we're safe.
Yeah.
Then you get to go into Everbloom every day and say, I'm here for fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's a business, but like now it's like the panics are gone.
Yeah.
And like I've seen it all too frequently. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about too. That's really good. It's really good to hear that you guys are, you know, doing stuff. I'm not trying to sell you or anything.
No, you're totally good.
Because what I've seen is most people when they you know, as a W-2, even a W-2 just employee, like not a person who owns the business, but if you own the business, you have some more levers you can pull in your benefit because you're the one taking the risk. And I know like some of the politicians try to, you know, poo on that, but like you're the one who's carrying the negative carry. Like you should get rewarded for that risk. But if you are a W-2, and so you're getting paid, most people, the problem is they make X dollars, and when there's nothing left over at the end of the month, the end of the week, or end of 2 weeks, they feel bad or they feel it's insufficient pay because they have nothing in savings. They have nothing for the future. And I've tried to explain to people, if you get paid every month or every 2 weeks or what have you, and you take 10, 15% of your paycheck and it goes into your 401k, even if at the end of the month, after taxes, after your 401k distribution to you, you're like, hey, we broke even. Technically, you're not paycheck to paycheck, even though it will feel that way, because like you are saving for the future. And then like, they leave employment with you or their next job, like they can just do a rollover IRA and just keep building them up. Like, but as the business owner, a lot of business owners don't realize this, but like a 401k, you guys can put like $76,000 away. Another 76 for your wife, 150, two-ish thousand, tax free legally. Like there's no, let me get lawyers involved and create like funky trust and try to, like, nope, that's legal. Even in the, regulated state of California, like you can do that very easily. And I tell people that and they immediately shut down and like, oh, I can't put 76,000 away. It's like, we don't have to put put $2,000 away, put $25 a month if that's all you can afford. But like, if you get a good quarter, you get a good, as a business owner, you don't have to do it the same cycle. If you have a good quarter, you have a good payout, like slide it in there. It's off. It's legally, you're not shielding it you're just protecting yourself from taxes. Like that should be something I wish more people would take advantage of. And I'm not like, preaching to you guys at all.
No,
I think more business owners, I think that's something like I try to push to a lot of people is like the 401k. If you go on the internet right now, even chat, like Chat GPT and all that, they're so like outdated, which is, laughable because everybody puts way too much emphasis on how good AI is, and it's not as good as people think it is. But if you Google or search or, chat it out, it'll say like open up a SEP, simplified employee pension plan, or a simple IRA. Those were beneficial because it used to be costly to have a 401k. Like there used to be fees associated with it. But like we work with Schwab, like we custody with Schwab and Fidelity. Both of them are free. Like they're not charging you fees to have a 401k. They're happy for you to park their money.
Right.
And so like, why would you not take the best when there's no additional fees for it? It's like maybe 20 minutes of your time to set it up for the business. And it's a benefit for you guys as a business owner. Like you can write that off on your guys' self. You can pay your employees. I think actually now they require it.
Yeah, they do.
So cool. So do people like it? Because it's more expensive. It's more out of your guys' pocket. But like, do your employees like appreciate it? Do they notice it?
As far as like, are you talking about?
Do you guys offer a 401k?
Well, so we offer. Yes and no. We have, like I said, half of our people are part-time and college students. And so like, it's really hard to like get them to understand usually this type of stuff. And so it's something that is offered, but very few people take us up or will want it, for one reason or another. And I understand. I mean, when I was in my early 20s, like just out of high school, like the last thing I'm thinking about is like 401ks. Honestly,
no, you're 20 to retire at 65 is like
so that's
eternity.
so far away. That's literally lifetimes away. So I'm not thinking about that, or wasn't. I wish I was, but yeah. What we like to do, what I feel like is like a little bit more immediately rewarding for them, and it kind of gives them the optionality if they want to do it. If they choose to, we just offer like bonus incentives on a quarterly basis based on performance. And that kind of tends to be like the way that we reward our people and compensate for, good performance, and just entices them to be part of our company. Obviously for us, like that's just, we end up paying a little bit more taxes on that because it just runs through payroll and whatnot. But at the same time, like it is a write-off in a way. So, or it helps bring down our costs. So yeah. But yeah, I myself am still learning a lot about this world. So it hasn't been something historically we've really preached a lot to our team. Talked about it a little bit here and there, and we'll make the little deposits for like their contributions for the couple that do every couple weeks when we run our payroll, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I always had when we had our team, it was always hard to get them to want to put anything away, and I'm like, guys, I'm like, we're matching you, like, I'm offering you free money, take it.
yeah, I think too, it's like, you know, I think you kind of just have to go through like that process yourself and like learn for yourself, like
Sure.
And two, I think it's a different mindset. It's funny. I feel like now that I am a business owner, I think so much more about the future because I have to be forward looking because like the nature of it is like leases and purchase agreements and seasons of like, oh, anticipation. You're always anticipating something.
Oh, 100%.
So I feel like, you know, you're anticipating tax season, right? Like you're anticipating like whatever. And I feel like because of that, it's like forced me to be more forward looking than I used to be. Whereas like before, when I was just like a W-2 employee, I would just like, you know, show up to work and like I'm off and I have my weekend, I have my days off and like, you know, and I think for some people, like I'll admit there is a charm to that because it's like once work is over, it's over. And you're just, you go home and for most people, it's like, yeah, well, if my boss calls me on my day off, I don't have to pick up or like, I'm not going to go in if I don't want to. And that's what that is. But then at the same time, like business is so fun. I feel like it's a game.
I understand the allure of the, you know, I'm done. I just don't operate that way.
Yeah.
Like my brain doesn't shut off. So I might as well, you know, be the one making some level of executive decision.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll anything else you want to add? So my sister-in-law, Candace, she makes these drinks, and since you guys are the coffee connoisseurs here, she swears by them. I've never had them, but she asked me to ask you, so I will ask you. Have you had a dirty Dr. Pepper? Do you know what this is? Or like a dirty Coke, dirty soda?
I've heard of this. Yes, I haven't.
Do you know what they are? Do you know what they are?
I think it's just it's espresso in the it's coffee. Yeah, it's coffee like in the soda, right?
To me, I don't know. Maybe
I think so.
My knowledge was she literally just mixes a soda, a pop. I'm from Ohio, so we call it pop. But I thought it was Coke, but she says Dr. Pepper is her favorite, and so just Dr. Pepper and then Italian sweet cream. That's it.
Yes, I have seen these.
And she swears by it. Like, this is, like, huge for her. Yeah. Have you guys ever, so apparently you haven't had one?
Haven't tried it. I've heard of it. We have a buddy who, not a buddy, he's a team member. He feels like a friend. He's so funny. Connor, he talks about this. Yeah.
I've never had one, but we will, off camera sometime, we'll try one.
Yeah. Like, hey, get the recipe. Put it together. I'll try anything.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. We will do this again sometime. For anyone who has not checked out Everbloom locally in Indio, well, actually, you tell us, where are you guys?
Yeah, we're in Indio, 2 locations in Indio, and we're right off of the main highway, Highway 111.
Sweet. So I'm going to come check you guys out again soon. I'll check out the new location, but thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, if you're a business owner in the Coachella Valley, I want to offer you a free gift, and there's no catch. I want to invite you to sit down with me for a spotlight interview where we can discuss you, your story, your business, and what makes you unique. And in return, I'm offering you all of the content that we create that you can use both for short and long form content for your marketing material. Spaces are limited, so comment spotlight below, send me a DM or email me, and we can get that scheduled. Have a wonderful day. Peace and love.